What a day to never forget. I still remember the moment everything changed. The laughter, the excitement, the anticipation of a grand wedding, everything shattered in a single evening. I was there, watching it all unfold, and to this day, I still don't know what I would have done if I were in his shoes. Kenechukwu, Kene for short, was living every young man's dream. He had built a fortune at a young age, running a successful real estate business in Abuja. Women admired him, men envied him, and his friends respected him. But what made him happiest was his bride-to-be, Amaka. Amaka was everything a man could ask for. Beautiful, curvy, graceful. She had a soft but confident voice that could calm even the most troubled heart. More than that, she was smart and hardworking, running her own interior design business. She cooked like a professional chef and kept her home spotless. If perfection had a name, it would be Amaka. Kene never stopped talking about her. Every conversation with his friends, Chuka, Mike, and Jide, ended with him praising Amaka. He couldn't wait for them to meet her. The wedding was just a few days away, and they had all flown in from different parts of Nigeria to stand by his side as his best man and groomsmen. The night they finally met her, everything went downhill. We were all gathered at Kene's house, drinking and celebrating, when she walked in, smiling and carrying a tray of small chops. She greeted us warmly, her presence lighting up the room. Then, I noticed it, the way Chuka's face suddenly stiffened. Mike looked down at his drink, avoiding her eyes. Jide. His jaw clenched as if he had seen a ghost. Amaka noticed too. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed the tray on the table. She didn't say anything, but her eyes darted between them before she quickly excused herself and walked away. Silence. Kene, oblivious to the sudden tension, raised his glass. So, what do you guys think of my wife to be? Nobody spoke. He looked at them, wondering why no one said a word. Is everything okay with you guys? Then Chuka cleared his throat and said the words that shattered the evening. Bro, you can't marry her. What is that supposed to mean? Kene asked. We know her. We've all been with her before. At first, Kene laughed. What do you mean? You guys must be joking. No jokes, Mike muttered. Back in Lagos. It was years ago, but we've all been with her. Kene's smile faded. All of you? Jide nodded. Kene's face changed from confusion to disbelief. How? Chuka sighed. Look, it was a few years ago. She used to live in Lagos. We didn't know she was the fiancée you are talking about. We wouldn't have kept quiet if we did. But we know Amaka from our past. She wasn't always the woman she is now. Kene's face darkened, his grip tightening around his glass. Explain. And so they told him. Amaka's past was not something she was proud of. Angry, Kene called Amaka into the sitting room where we all were. He also called his mother, father, and a few relatives that were there. Amaka's only relative present, her younger brother, was also there. When everyone was seated, Kene asked Amaka if she knew the men sitting there. She hesitated but said to him, My love, I have never lied to you and I won't start now. Just answer the question, Kene demanded. Yes, I have met each of them once when I and my mother was living in Lagos. Kene left the room in anger, threatening to cancel the wedding. Everyone was confused and in shock. Amaka collapsed on the floor crying bitter tears as her past has finally caught up with her. My son, "You can't just cancel the wedding," his mother said, asking him to come back. "We can resolve this," she said. But he was gone. His father spoke up for the first time, asking his friends to go and get him. There is nothing too big to be resolved. When his friends brought him back, Kene's father asked everyone to calm down. He spoke to Amaka and asked her to explain what happened between her and Kene's friends. She told them everything she could remember. Back in Lagos, life had been hard for her. Her mother had been seriously ill, and with no one to support them, no jobs at the time. She had done what she had to do to survive. She had been with men, many men, to make ends meet. When her mother eventually passed away, she left that life behind, moved to Abuja, and started afresh with what was left. She had rebuilt herself from the ground up, learning new skills, starting her business, and becoming the woman Kene fell in love with. But fate, as cruel as ever, had placed 3 of his closest friends in her past. Kene was speechless. Everyone in the room was, including the friends that started this whole drama. Kene stood up, paced the room, ran his hands over his head. "You never told me," he murmured. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked her. Amaka sighed. "Would you have stayed if I did?" The question hung in the air. "That was my past," she continued, "one that I'm not proud of. I couldn't stand by and do nothing while my mother was dying." The entire room became as cold as a mortuary. No one uttered a word. That night, Kene didn't sleep. Amaka tried to explain, but what could she say? It was truly her past. A past she had left behind. A past she didn't think would come knocking days before her wedding. The next morning, Kene locked himself in his room. He wouldn't talk to anyone. His friends, feeling guilty, left him alone. The wedding was in a few days, and invitations had already gone out. People were expecting a celebration. But now, Kene had a choice to make. Should he go ahead with the wedding, knowing that his 3 closest friends had been with his wife-to-be? Or should he walk away from the woman he loved because of a past she had no control over? Kene's father was the only one that spoke to him that morning. When he was done talking to him, he left him alone to make his decision. The decision wasn't easy. He had always believed in love and trust. But was love enough to erase what he now knew? Could he look at her without seeing the past? Without seeing his friends? I don't know what I would have done. And now I ask you, if you were in Kene's shoes, what would you do? Would you go ahead with the wedding, knowing it was just her past? Or would you call it off, unable to live with the knowledge? Let's hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Maybe your advice would help Kene in the part 2 as we wait for his decision. While you are at that, we want to say a big thank you for always watching our folktales and always giving us your unbiased comment. Remember to subscribe to our channel, The Echoes of Old, if you haven't, like our video and help us share to reach more people. Also watch other interesting stories we have for you. Once again, thank you.